Oseo.
Oseo.
That's the Cherokee greeting, and we'll follow that with Feliz Pascua. That's Happy Easter, because that's what today is. And I'm going to have two sections here. Last Sunday we were out in the Esborrego Desert, starting off Holy Week. So I'm coming out with two sections today. So the first section I'm starting is going to be all Yaqui. Dios Chinea.
Dios Chioque.
That's the Yaqui greeting. May God be with you. Like that. So I'm going to be talking Yaqui here. Claudia and I, we lived in Arizona a while back, and for quite a while we were adjacent to the Yaqui village, Guadalupe. We became very much a part of it and related in that for over several years, and even we moved to San Diego, we continued in our relations there. We are also padrinos and so forth. So a lot goes into this, and I'm giving some of that because I want to very, very much, however I can say with my heart, honor the Yaquis and all that is in our relation there. So things I'm going to be presenting here that goes along with that. So first thing I want to say, this ceremony is the culture that we're calling Yaqui. And the next thing I have to say, the name Yaqui has become very popular partly because a Spanish writer, Carlos Castaneda, wrote a book about Yaqui knowledge and so forth, and that's really something else. But the name Yaqui has become a little bit familiar to Americans. The name for the people is actually the Ohemi. And the Ohemi, that name is actually Egyptian. And we'll be saying how much that this is from ancient Egypt, just a hint like that. Now, the ceremony which is taking place, it would be finished mostly by now, today, at this late time. But what figures in it is a deer dancer. He's called a maso. And that maso, is quite a centerpiece, in the ceremony. And there's, beautiful poetry and beautiful legends that go along with it. And I've put up a display to accommodate that idea, so you can take the camera over there. Claudia has also learned from our compadre, who is a deer singer, the deer songs. And at one time here, when we were at the coffee place, we performed it. However, people that sounded like anthropologists had displeasure at having a woman sing the songs. So that particular site was taken off. But here is a sample of poetry, is the way I'm going to call it, for a deer song, like that. So you can just focus on the deer. Where are you standing in the wind? Dry grasses, straw, and shaking in the wind. Dry grasses, where are you standing? In the wind, dry grasses, straw, and shaking in the wind. Dry grasses. There in the wilderness, the flower world, a pale blue cloud will be gray water at its peak. The mist will rain down on the flower ground, and shining, reaching bottom where you are only standing in the wind, dry grasses, straw, and shaking in the wind. Now, see over there with the camera. Now, there's a deer head there. Now, this deer head was carved by somebody else. It is not a Yaqui deer head whatsoever. But I've put fixtures on it like it would be. And you see a rose there in the middle there. Another deer poem would be the rose, calling to the deer, come over here and smell this rose. And now with the rose, between his antlers, he said, look around and see how beautiful the world is. And then you see, circling that is a string of rattles. These rattles are made from a cocoon, and they wind around the legs of the dancer, the deer dancer, and also the Pascola dancers. And they are cocoons from a bush there in Sonora in the desert. But they become very rare because the Mexicans have taken to spraying whatever you call insecticide or something. And so that has very much curtailed finding these cocoons here. And little pebbles are inside of them, and you shake it and it rattles. And so a person wearing these around their ankles, can shake it very rhythmically, like that. So then if we go from that over here, let me say here, this piece here is made by our comadre Maria Alvarez, and here you can look at it. There's a picture of me and her with her house, and next to it the heart with Claudia there and our comadre Anita, Maria's daughter, and she's holding Bernal. We are the godparents of Bernal. Now back to comadre, this piece right here I've draped around, she made this piece, and it would actually be used to wind around the antlers of the deer headdress of the deer dancer, the maso. And his antlers would be very much smaller than what I have here in my display. But this is an example to see that. And while we are there, you see this piece that's hanging here. This is a rosario, and this is basically you say a standard Yaqui rosary, but a Yaqui rosary that's made from the branch of a bush that grows in the desert by with a needle punching out the pith, and it makes these little beads, like that. So this is featured all through the ceremony. And to go down below there, here is a cross. This is mine, so don't get the idea I'm taking something from somebody over there, but it's like that. This is the Contumbri Cross, and I have there hanging on it a little charm that's a scorpion. The scorpion is a kind of insignia found, you see it on Damascus and you see it on the swords. This has stemmed all the way from the place in Egypt where the Yaqui ancestors, best I put it, have come from. The language of the Yaquis and the language study, in other words, there's a language study called, the Semitic or Hamitic language features in the Uto-Aztecan language. The Americans have made up a language category called Uto-Aztecan, in which what they're calling Yaqui is one of them. The name Yohemi is an Egyptian word for the people, and that's not all. The study shows, we call the lexemic instances in the Yaqui language, the way we're talking, that is Hamitic, that it is not just loan words, but they are whole structures showing that this language that these people are speaking stems from ancient Egypt, that also extends into Libya, and so forth. And so the ceremony itself is very, very much like that. Now what these people as Christians are called are the Copts. The Copts. Copts is a kind of a short term for the Aegyptos, which is a kind of Greek term for the Egyptians. So the Yaquis' culture, their language, ceremony and all certainly stems from the Copts of ancient Egypt. The Ethiopians are a branch of it and very similar, and very recent people from Ethiopia have come here and continued their kind of culture that is adjacent to the Yaquis in this way. So to realize all of that of who these people really are, and it takes place in the desert. Now the Native American part in terms of the ceremony is actually the four-part structure of the ceremony. The four-part structure is what classifies ceremony, the way we're talking, as Native American. So you have a Coptic or ancient Egyptian kind of ceremony with this particular vocabulary within a Native American four-part structure. You know, to put it that simply there. And also mentioning our comadre Anita there. Anita and I spent a lot of time together. I can still hear her voice whenever I want. I love being with her. And on this one occasion that we are in the procession, the last procession of Easter Sunday, as we are coming up the plaza or the Glory Road. It was kind of a cloudy day, and the clouds broke a little bit, and a solid ray of sunlight is coming down, and Comadre Anita is standing alongside the tiopo. The tiopo means the temple, and it lit her up. Now she had her hair cut, what do you call it, a Nefertiti style, and she's wearing a black t-shirt with a gold, shiny gold picture of Nefertiti here, and the sun is coming down and illuminating her just that way. As soon as I finished from the procession, when we arrived at the tiopo, I went over there and I told her what I saw, and she said, "I know, that's why I was standing here." So there, the Egyptian does come through. So all of that there. Also, here in San Diego, the people, the Yaquis from Tucson is the way we pronounce it, Tucson, were here to do a gig at the Museum of Man. And we met them there, and they came to our house. We lived adjacent to Balboa Park. And the whole troop, 16 of these people, came to our house and stayed in our house. We furnished the beer, you can imagine. So, so everybody was there. The deer dancer, the pascolas, the man who carves the masks. Let me show you right here. Here is a mask. This is a pascola mask. You would say it's a ceremonial mask. I picked this one because it's a cat, or cat spirit. And the carver is Aceto. Aceto carved this mask here. And other things like that. Here, I'm wearing here, the deer dancer wears this. It's a paparosi. So you can see that. So this was a gift also for me. I traded my harmonica to one of these guys for something like that. So it was wonderful. Now back to the ceremony briefly. It's a passion play, and it sort of begins to culminate there Good Friday, all that happens. And then at that time, late at night, the piece I started playing on the harmonica is a piece that would be played that night, mostly on a concertina. Now somebody in the village nearby has made a beer in the shape of an egg, is the way I call it, huevos, like that, and have decorated it. And a procession will go over there to that house to retrieve it and bring it back to the plaza, back to the ceremony. And so I put this here, this egg, this kind of paper mache egg, to signify just that part of the ceremony. And during the night, the dancers, especially the deer dancer and the Pascola dancers, are sort of that kind of standing guard. The whole thing is being incubated because the man who died, his soul or his spirit, however you like to call it, is inside of this egg. So come a Sunday morning, Easter morning, there will be a procession that's going to pick up this egg and will, with the Pascolas dancing alongside of it, we'll be carrying this back to the temple, back to the Teopo. And about 3/4 of the way or so, then the mothers, come out, the doll mothers, they come out, and it's a very moving moment for me, very, very moving. Come and take the egg and take it into the temple, just that part of it, and that's the part that the Pascolas play. Here's my painting, I stress, of Coyote wearing, the skunk Pascola mask. So you can see that is of me, strictly speaking. So all of this is the way, let me say again, I am so grateful and honoring, to our relations with the Yaquis, and they are, and their culture is very unique. Also, a kind of a godfather that come in to this for me, who also was like my vision ancestor. He wasn't my vision ancestor, but he came in my dream like that. And from year to year, he taught me, that's why I would call it, he taught me parts of the ceremony. So parts of it through the dream, I was in it, and his name is Juan Casillas, like that, and he has passed to the other side, and Comadre, where he has passed to the other side. So to the rest of our relatives in Guadalupe, love you. Now let me go on to part 2. And you can look here at all of this of the jaguar. Now the jaguar in Mexico, again, I was a student in Mexico and in Yucatan, like that, and especially in Yucatan, the jaguar, the way we're calling this, is very, very predominant. It's the best emphasis I can make, exactly what it all means seems to be something primal, because in the so-called Aztec calendar stone, the jaguar is figured as the first sun, or the first age. So at least I would say it's certainly something very primal, and certainly was very ubiquitous in the earlier cultures, that most of it's archaeological, that have occurred in southern Mexico, Yucatan, Chiapas, and like that. And many of the pictures of Aztec clothing also features jaguar. But I brought it into a particular prominence here, and that's what I want to emphasize, because through the month of March, it was Women's Herstory Month. So I'm carrying that theme through with woman, really emphasize woman, and this particular aspect of woman, as to me, is culminating here in the Jaguar Woman, and to realize a certain, well, this very special aspect of woman, womankind, of her, and so forth. So you can focus anywhere now on the jaguar display while I'm going to deliver this piece. That sham woman, Jaguar Woman, she dressed herself in spotted yellow fur. Once she had won, then she planned that the people should come together and dance. So the crier went to the hill and announced it, and called to all the people. They all came, the people, young and old alike. So many they could not be counted. And then she began her song. She beats her drum. Again and again they began to join in the dance. They leap into the air. They join hands, weaving themselves together, whirling around and around. Their chant rises into the air and echoes from the hills. She sang it, she thought of it, and they answered her, as she planned. They took it from her lips. It began at dusk and went on to midnight. And when the dance they did, that they all did together, reached its climax, they hurled themselves from the cliffs into the gullies. They all died and became stones. Ha 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 ha. So. Whirling woman of colors, woman of flashing light, sap woman, dew woman, Lord clown woman under the sea, morning star woman, woman torn up from the ground, woman who resounds, woman saintess, God star woman, book woman, moon woman, justice woman, woman who searches, Lord eagle woman, jaguar woman. She is of one word, of one face, of one spirit, of one light, of one night. Jaguar Woman.